I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Paul.
And we are SP Film Viewers.
And today we're doing something a little bit different, where we've both watched this film for the first time, although we have seen the original, of course, and that is The Lion King.
Remastered, would you call it?
Live action that isn't live action is what you'd call it, but it isn't.
Yes, I didn't actually understand the concept of this because when you said about live action that it needed to involve a person, and I was like, yeah, but they're making the animals look like real life kind of things. I thought that's what you meant by live action.
They are meant to look like the real animals, which they do, but live action really implies that there's an element of what is it, like a normal person involved.
So if you had a normal dog or something like that, or
no,
like that's not live action, but it is a living creature though.
What do you mean?
Like, let's say you did, I don't know, let's say like you had a real lion in The Lion King, would then that be classed as live action because this lion's acting?
That'd be funny. No, by that you normally have like you do with like the Smurfs, for example, or something where they're like CGI characters, but they're in the real world with real people who are acting against them,
okay.
That kind of thing. Whereas like the remake of Jungle Book
and Aladdin,
yeah, they're classed as live action because there's both elements to it.
I think I get where you're coming from. So first of all, it's called live action, and there isn't any live action.
No,
because there's no real.
It's still CGI. It's 3D CGI.
There's no live
Simba.
No.
It's all computer generated. So right off the bat, you can't even say.
But it does look realistic. You can't fault them.
No, I can't. Although, the more I'm looking through it, I'm thinking, doesn't seem. There's still something about it that's still not quite.
Yeah, because they're talking.
Yeah, that's not the thing I'm having the issue with. It's still the way they look. It's not the way they.
Well, that's what put me off a little bit.
What?
So I thought they looked quite realistic, but then it was like when they were trying to make the mouths move that I.
This is part of the whole part of the problem, really, because you can't how. Oh right, the whole expression of the faces. There's a lot of this is when we're going through what we're going to explain through the points through all this. There's not a lot of emotion being shown from them, which is another grievance.
I do feel like you actually get more out of the animation for the emotion side of it.
Oh, by far, yeah.
But then you just thought actually you might have felt more in this one, really, because you could sympathise that they are actually more human and like humanized animals, you know.
So more realistic animal, you mean, like a real animal that you'd see it in.
You could feel more remorse towards it because it's like this could actually be happening
to a
real animal in the jungle. Is it a jungle? It's not a jungle.
The savannah.
Yeah.
Savannah.
So
/ jungle, depending on where your location is.
So I think there is certain parts with that, but you have quite a bit of an attachment to The Lion King.
Yeah, this is like my favourite Disney film, I'd say.
Because I can't remember the last time I watched The Lion King, like the original. So obviously it's not when I've been really, really little. I think me and you have watched it at some point together. But I'm one of those, if I haven't rewatched it in a while, I'm not like you that remembers every little bit.
No, but I've seen it so many times that I know beat for beat. There's certain films, particularly animation films that I've seen. Like,
there were so many things that you were mentioning that weren't in it. And I'm like, I don't even remember that. But because you've got that attachment, I feel like you're going to rip it to bits.
Yeah, if you haven't gathered already, that's going to be the case. So we'll start sort of from the very beginning. We'll just go bit by bit. We might jump around a little bit with how things are, depending on points we make. But there probably will be some expletives in this.
F-bombs.
F-bombs, yeah, whatever, depending on how I want to get my point across. But just be warned with that. So, despite it being a kids' film.
Oh dear, it's really got you rattled.
Yeah. So from the very outset of the film starting, we have the same intro music, Circle of Life, playing. So that's kind of like, trying to pull me in with the tugging of the heartstrings on that, because I really like that song. And wouldn't you know it, that pretty much trying to do the same sequence beat for beat with the imagery as well.
I don't blame them from doing when it's a really strong opening. It's like, how could you actually improve or change that? I don't actually honestly know, but I had a bit of gripe with it,
right.
Which was, I don't know, I didn't enjoy the singer as
much.
No.
Yeah, it's up until the whoever's did the singing for the actual lyrics comes into the song. It's like, no, that's still not the same.
And the movement of the animals I thought was a bit weird.
Because they were realistic.
No, so like they were kind of, I think it was like when the zebras and like there was some, I don't know what they were, like, looked like deers, but I don't think they were antelopes.
Yeah.
Were kind of going on their hind legs and like kind of neighing. I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
And like the legs were like wiggling all over the shop, and I was like, I looked like going everywhere.
I think that's probably what they, like a horse would, go on rearing its legs.
Which is fine, but it just looked like because there was quite a few of them doing it at the same time, and it's like that wouldn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas, like I say, you can get away with that in a cartoon thing because it's 2D animation.
Yeah, you can.
That, I mean, yeah. So that's one thing, and it's like even with seeing like little baby Simba, but I'm not. As much as I love cats, it's not like I'm not like going, oh, that's so cute or anything.
Oh no, come on, it was cute. You can't say it wasn't.
I don't know. There's no emotion towards him because I know the other one is a lot cuter, even though he's like a little real.
He's well fluffy and he's like high definition fluffy and well cute. He is. You can't say he's not cute.
Yeah, I'm just saying he's not.
I'm
not cooing over him like.
Oh, I did. I did coo over him. I was like, oh, he's so lovely.
But I know there's a point that you'll probably make down the line, but I'll say now about like how Rafiki comes up and he hasn't got a stick.
Don't, because that's my gripe with this film. That was like, Rafiki is my favourite character, believe it or not.
Okay.
Like if you asked, I'm not like a Nala or Simba. I do like Timon and Pumbaa, normally.
Yeah.
And Rafiki turned up and he like bashes everybody on the head. He's like, and it's like, I'd love to be Rafiki with the stick and just like get everybody into order. Like if you didn't like somebody, just knock them on the head.
Yeah.
And even when I was little, I really liked Rafiki. And the fact that there was no stick for me, I know it sounds daft. It did eventually whap it out, but
phrasing.
It was like, but there was like a ball thing on his stick.
Yeah, exactly, like coconut shells or something.
Yeah, and then he had that red paste thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, that didn't happen, and it's like, well, that is like saying you've got Timon and no Pumbaa to me. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Right, okay.
I don't get why they didn't put that in.
No, I don't really, considering the fact that it did come for one particular part later on near the end, but
it was like an iconic moment where he got the stick and then whacked a couple of hyenas and then the stick were gone.
Yeah, so it was like, what was the point?
Because I was like, well made up one. I was like, ah! And then he didn't do any of it. He wasn't really Rafiki, I didn't feel. He didn't have the same characterisms. But I don't know if that's because it's like, oh, well, a real monkey wouldn't do that. I'm pretty sure it would.
I don't think a real baboon would carry a big walking stick type thing around with him. So
I'm sure he'd hit people with sticks though. Yeah,
no, but I'm saying for the fact of either have the stick or don't have the stick. Not like for one instance have the stick to do one bit and then never throw away.
It was a toy with me. It was like, oh, the stick's appearing, it's going to be amazing, and then it was really quite disappointing. I don't know why I have such a beef about this, but I did.
It's your big beef.
This is my big beef that Rafiki didn't have a stick. I was like...
Yeah. And then after that, we have the long, drawn-out little mouse intro thing with the introduction to Scar, that was done in like 2 seconds in the original one. It's a little mouse going in the cave, and then Scar, his paw comes down and he's about to eat him. But in this, for some reason, we're having the old mouse going up from the grassy field in the having a drink of water and then going up and thing, and it's like, why do we need
breakfast.
to... Yeah.
I think, as well, I don't know if I'm going to steal your thunder here.
Mm.
Scar, a bit like Jafar, didn't seem that scary.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're not going to be, like, discolouring in too much like in the other one, whereas like in the original one, it was like a dark browny orange, wasn't he, really? And he obviously like, oh, he's obviously the villain.
Yeah, and he had a black mane.
Exactly, like lions don't normally have black manes. So, but in this, it's like, oh yeah, it's just make his colours a bit washed out, and
he looks.
He just, yeah,
a little bit like I kind of felt sorry for him. Like if I saw that lion in real life, I'd be like, oh,
malnourished.
Yeah, like he hasn't had enough food. Is like the runt of the pack is not getting looked after, kind of thing, and needs some food. And I more felt sorry for him than I was feared him. You could see his ribs, couldn't you? You could see he looked really scrawny.
Yeah. I don't know, even the dialogue between him and Mufasa, it didn't seem like amped up with emotion.
Yeah, it wasn't that aggressive. And
no. James Earl Jones, who voiced Mufasa again in this, and you can tell he's, getting on a bit now, because it's just no oomph with what he's delivering.
No, I don't think Scar had that oomph either, to be fair. No. I didn't mind actually Mufasa's voice. It did sound like an older man, like in a sense.
It's the same voice actor, but
so that was I like the fact that they kept that, because it does have like this deep, meaningful voice, but then Scar's wasn't as villainy.
Again, it's not the same.
Yeah.
And then we're sort of moving on to the like Simba, a bit more grown up Simba, what the Pride Lands are, what he's going to inherit, and all that stuff, and
I feel like Simba, I don't know if I'm remembering incorrectly, but he seemed a bit more cocky in this one. Like
he was cocky in the other one.
He was, but he didn't.
Again, he had a bit more pizzazz to him.
He was cocky, but in a cute, charming way. In the original, he didn't annoy you, whereas this came across a bit like a spoiled brat.
Yes, it doesn't help when the fact he's like the same facial expression going on. Then just the mouth. That's all you got to go on. Just what's coming out of his mouth, but that doesn't reflect on the cat's face, basically.
I do think as well the voice annoyed me a little bit for Simba. I felt like that was too high pitched.
It doesn't really.
Felt like he had quite a few big names, but actually they weren't suited for the roles.
Yeah, we'll get to that later on, but I think maybe the note I wrote down of any significant change was a bit later on when he's kind of like, I think it's just after Mufasa goes to chase the hyenas. They're in the Pride Lands, and it says like Simba go home, and Zazu takes him off to go play with the other cubs, and then for some reason there's the instance with like a rhino beetle, and Simba goes to chase it, and for some reason I assumed like from the original that where Scar lives was like a lot further away, like he's sort of an outcast, so he's not like right next.
I thought Scar lived with the hyenas.
Yeah, sort of
in the shadows.
I don't think he lived that far out. He kind of just knew them, I guess. But
no, but I feel like he was more on the breadth of the.
Yeah, it was a bit. It was not quite like right out of the way, but he was kind of like a bit from Pride Rock.
Yeah.
But apparently, he's like next door to the where the Pride is, so it's like, okay, that's a bit
bizarre, isn't it? Because it didn't feel like he'd literally gone far, whereas beforehand.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because it didn't show that process of him getting there. That seems to happen a lot in this. Seems to like filling in the gaps where they didn't really need to happen, and then you just accepted it for what it was. So there was that. So that was kind of like, it was a bit weird. Next note I've got down about this, the Just Can't Wait to Be King song.
Now, Zazu, I think he had a good role. He seemed to be quite on point for me for what I can remember Zazu being.
Right.
Obviously, with Simba, his voice it was too high pitched for me. I did enjoy it, but obviously because I knew the song itself.
Yeah.
I think Zazu made it. I don't know if
his voice, to be honest, doesn't really annoy me in this that much. To be fair, not a lot of people like John Oliver. He's like a British comedian type personality. I don't think he didn't do too bad of a job, really.
No,
But
I don't think so. He wasn't my gripe, anyways.
No, but my point that I made jotted down was just the whole. I guess really it's because again so used to the colourfulness and craziness of what happens in the song in the cartoon, where there's all the animals around and they're all like doing these fancy dance moves and all that kind of stuff. But in this, it just looked like a lot of animals just running around following Simba and Nala, kind of just like tootling on behind them, and it's just a bit like...
Like the part with, I'm sure the meerkats, there was a meerkat bit where they were all like running beside them. And there was a bit where I didn't mind, where it's obviously they were underneath like the giraffes and stuff like that. That looks more realistic and kind of like you're hiding from them. But it just seemed, compared to the original, I think this one, I didn't actually mind Aladdin as much as I minded this one. It didn't upset me that as much as the Lion King is. The remake.
With overall the songs, what?
Just the overall story, and I think as well, the added bits in Aladdin were valuably added. There were scenes in here which dragged the Lion King out, which you didn't need to see.
Yeah, we'll get to those as well. When it comes to the hyena part in the elephant graveyard, and it's like, I know there's meant to be 3 distinguishable ones, but they didn't even come across as anything like the 3 from the original.
Now, it was quite funny because you actually told me, obviously I know there's like the derpy one.
Yeah, he wasn't even derpy.
It was somewhat derpy, and I'm sure I know his voice from somewhere. He was getting on my nerves, actually, because I was like, I'm sure I recognise you as some derpy kind of actor. But then there was the other one that just gets annoyed by the derpy one. And then there's like the boss, which I thought was a man.
No, it's a female.
But who is it is it?
No, not in this, you mean in this one?
I just meant in general, I thought it was
no, in the original it was Whoopi Goldberg that did the voice.
Well, that's really bad, isn't it? I thought he was a man, but I really did think, unless you just put a deep voice on.
No. You'd have to
I just
revisit it again.
assumed all 3 of them were men. So when this female alpha hyena comes out, I'm like, what? I'm pretty sure you shouldn't be a female.
Yeah, but then at this point there's like loads more hyenas coming out the woodwork, so to speak, and it's like, oh, right, well, I can't tell who's who here.
Yeah, because they didn't look really distinctive, the 3 main ones. I understand, I guess, why they did it, because obviously a pack of hyenas would be more than 3 in real life.
Yeah, I know that. But in that you kind of have those thing, and then you have the other ones that are kind of for the Be Prepared song. In the original, is later on you'd have more to be doing, like the army of
hyenas.
Yeah. So then that's kind of wrapped up fairly briefly with there's not even like a big chase scene with like Nala and Simba running away from them.
No, they kind of just get saved by Mufasa, don't
they? They kind of just very, very quickly happens. And the scolding he gets from Mufasa, Simba, this is. It's not even showing his face when they're doing it. It's kind of like seeing the back to him. They're looking up at the stars or whatever, or in the distance. And it's like, and there's no emotion from this anyway, coming from the delivery of the lines, oh, you've disobeyed me. There's no weight to it, and it just feels like, oh, just why, facing away from us, why are you even bothering doing that? What's that about?
What did they do in the original?
Well, it went on for a lot longer, and again, it's more what the voice does come across, the sternness initially, and then Simba's like crying, like, I'm just trying to be brave, and...
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, yeah.
So it was not even like a proper telling off or anything, it just was like, it's mildly annoyed.
True.
And Simba didn't even
Simba wasn't really remorsed or upset about the fact.
So that was like done in like 30 seconds, and then wrote down, keep looking, son, keep looking, when he's like on about the but the stars, the thing to be there to guide you, and it's like, look, what? I don't get that, really. Just very weird.
What do you mean, the fact that the people that are past kings have died and they're up in the stars?
That's something added in for this one.
No, it's not.
It just says...
Oh, the Keep Looking Sun.
Yeah, Keep Looking
Sun.
Sun.
I thought you meant the star
Oh, yeah,
bit.
no, the star bit
is,
yeah.
That is
Yeah, that is in the thing, but not the Keep Looking Sun, Keep Looking.
No, that bit in that is added, yeah. I thought you were going to say, I'm pretty sure he said it, because I thought that was quite a poignant moment initially. In the other one, it is a case of, like, that...
the stars will be there to guide you.
Yeah, and then... Like, once I've passed as well, I'll be up there looking over you and being there for you. But you didn't really get... I don't know why that line needed to be added as well, because, you don't need to be looking, unless it means when he's older to keep looking.
I don't know. Be Prepared song. Just what even? It wasn't even... It was like... I kind of got the inkling when he started doing like, sort of like rhythmic way he was... delivering his lines and thinking, is this supposed to be a song coming on now?
Yeah, you were like, is this Be Prepared? And I was like, what's Be Prepared? And I'm thinking...
it's not this.
I'm thinking, I don't understand, because... and then he started saying it, and then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember this song, and this is nothing like... And obviously you don't want it to be exactly like. Fair enough, you want diverse and a bit of difference. You don't want it to be a replica of the exact movie, because that would be pointless and boring, but you don't want them to change it so much that you end up really wanting to rip it to bits, which I feel we get to that point of where it was like, oh, well, these things that I've added in don't need to be added. The Be Prepared was the weakest villain song
I've ever heard of anything.
It didn't have any thought.
No, it really
like
didn't.
They're making the villains less scary. Like, I remember the Disney movies being...
Yeah, you said this in Aladdin.
Your villains were villains, and they were petrifying, and you wouldn't want to cross them. And
in
now
this, it's kind of just like, fear me.
It's like, it's a weak little lion that's scrawny and couldn't fight anyone because he doesn't have any food in his belly.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, I don't really understand why, you had to do it that way. You could do extend it a little bit more or get it going, but it kind of just felt like it started going and then just kind of stops.
It was more like a talk than a song.
Yeah, it's sort of leading up to a thing.
It's more operatic as well, wasn't it? A little bit like.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a dark Be Prepared. It was. Yeah.
Anyway. So then I wrote down for obviously the next bit where Simba's in the gorge, and it's raw practice being the plot point for the whole stampede bit. Whereas I said to you that there was a whole sort of other section, it's sort of hinted at briefly in this, where it's kind of Scar that walks away and then kind of looks up at the thing. You can see a couple of hyenas like on the cliffs, like as if like getting the stampede ready. But in the other one, there was a bit more of you got more of a sense of where this whole situation's going to escalate to, where like there's wildebeest on the top mountain bit, and then there's the hyenas discussing about waiting for the signal from Scar to get the ball rolling with this.
Yeah, because I was a little bit like, well, where did they come from, and what was...
It feels like this is an example of where you feel like you're relying on context of the previous film to know the thing behind this.
Yeah, like you didn't actually... Yeah, okay, you got a glimpse of the hyenas up at the top, but you weren't aware that the hyenas were like causing this stampede.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of like, why are they there?
Yeah, you just thought you were just being nosy. Yeah.
Something I noticed when the stampede does happen, I feel like, slacking off the animation, but it looks like very noticeably like sort of, I don't know, cycled animation. Like it's just like
repeated,
almost like a loop, but kind of like very stock. Like it's the same thing to model. It probably is, knowing how animation works, but it's kind of just like plopped and just like put on a loop and put it onto the track and have it go round.
Funnily enough, it looked more slow motion.
It didn't look very intense, which is weird considering it would have taken a lot longer to do a 2D version of a rushed stampede, whereas this, you could easily slow that down, whatever you needed it to do with this.
Yeah.
And yet it's not...
It didn't seem like you would have got mega trampled.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little jaunt.
Trotting along kind of thing.
Oh, in fact, it doesn't seem like that when you maybe if you were in that situation, but it kind of like from seeing it from a far distance, it kind of just didn't feel like it had the oomph.
Yeah, like the dramaticness of it, really.
Of like the power,
like, oh, someone's going to get trampled to death.
Yeah, it didn't feel like that. And then, of course, we have the
sad scene.
The sad scene of what's supposed to be a sad scene, and the dramatic thing of Mufasa falling to his death. But it just looks kind of weird the way it's done.
I did feel for Simba when he did cry out a little bit.
What? No.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh jeez.
It obviously not half as much. That is like a really, really sad scene in the other. I didn't feel as upset.
Again, what can you do when it's essentially a cat's face just going? But
I think it's more the connection of obviously is just disappointed his father.
Well, he doesn't even know that, does he? He doesn't know. He's not at this point. He's not being tricked into thinking that it's all his fault or anything like that.
No, but I mean, prior to going to the elephant graveyard, so he's not like in his dad's good books, anyways.
Right.
And then obviously he's causing another havoc of roaring.
Again, but he doesn't
in the way, and it's not his fault, obviously. But it's like kind of his dad died, and he's not really patched everything completely up. I know they were like on about the stars and stuff in there at that moment, and he didn't feel like they'd patched it up compared to the other one. Like he was still somewhat in trouble, anyways.
In the original.
No, in this one, like it was a case of like it didn't feel like I felt like he had more remorse. Did Mufasa to Simba in the other?
Right.
And you could feel like actually, yeah, he was really, really annoyed at him, but in the end, it was because Simba showed how upset he was.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I get what you mean now. Yeah. That it probably does show that, even though it's essentially the same thing. There isn't like an in between bit from that to show that they're all hunky dory.
Mm.
But I know I get what you mean. Yeah. It felt like there again probably a bit more in the original animation.
Yeah.
To show that it's sort of patched up a bit better than this one. But that happens. He goes to find his dad trampled.
Sees him just laying there.
And it's, I don't know, this obviously probably is a very sad thing for other people, but I'm going to sound like really heartless here, but I think even, I've never really even, when I saw this as a little child, I was that upset by it. I don't know why.
Do you not have a heart? I'm marrying a heartless man.
I don't know if this light up, I don't know, I guess that feels a bit more real because that's unreal.
Yeah, but I get where you're coming from, but I did.
I don't know. It's certain things do trigger different emotions from me as to why do you deem as sad. I think it's more, obviously, it's more human based than it is a cartoon.
No, I still had a human connection to it because obviously it's a father and son relationship. Yeah. So like, let's say for example, let me try and humanise it for you. Let's say your dad was annoyed at you and you hadn't made up, and then your dad gets chucked off a cliff.
That doesn't happen.
Fingers crossed it doesn't happen. But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
I know
you
what
haven't
you mean.
patched that up. And I think that's one of my things is always like on a night time.
You don't like to go to bed on an argument, you mean?
Yeah. So I hate something like that. Okay. So for me to think that wasn't patched up before somebody would have passed away.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
So for me that was a big...
But I don't know why. It is sad, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not what you get. Stop having a little beef. But
I do think it was a lot sadder in the original. I feel like Simba was like again, really, really
the
tears
and the actual face showing that he is upset.
So then Scar's really horrible to Simba.
Well,
tells him to run far, far away.
Never return, yeah.
And obviously then there's a bit of a chase scene, isn't there?
Yeah, the hyenas chasing them off.
You made me laugh at this bit you did because while we were watching the film, it was a stoppy-starty thing that we did. We should have been reviewing it while we watched it probably, because me and we were just pausing it and you were kind of like, and you were kind of getting a little bit agitated through watching it.
No, yeah.
And you did pause at some scenes when you're like, well, why couldn't they have just done this instead? This scene with the hyenas, that bit frustrated you as well, where Simba had kind of fallen off this cliff.
Right, yeah, of course, yeah. We're giving up chase there and then, kind of thing like, oh, yeah, okay, guess he died, yeah.
Just lazy,
Just
isn't
lazy.
it?
Whereas I know the other one, they didn't carry on chasing him anyway, but they kind of saw him run off in the distance, where there again was a bit of a... Again, it's these hyenas that aren't really that memorable in their performance, really, other than this running joke of the two other ones where it's like, oh, keep your distance kind of thing, with social distancing with
2 meters.
I don't know, it's just like, oh, get away from you, like, watch, you're invading my space here kind of thing. I don't know why that was kept having to be...
Maybe Disney knew something prior to...
Nice, but that was just kind of a slight annoyance. So then when it comes to Scar saying to the Pride about how Simba and Mufasa are now dead, all we get from Rafiki and Zazu, respectively, is tutting, like, and a oh dear. That's all they have to comment on, the fact that, the
king
is dead.
And
his prince.
Next king in line is prince, both have died.
Yeah. It's a bit like, really?
I'm sure Rafiki went off on one, didn't he?
No, he was a lot more upset. He kind of like, like a thing, but he obviously didn't go off on one.
Didn't he go back to his tree, though?
Yeah, he did, and then he did the wipe the thing, because like, oh, it's no longer. I
didn't feel like as well the Pride, like Simba's mother, was that you couldn't feel like any kind of upsetment as much. But I was like, oh, okay, this is a bit where I think I know the film more, is when obviously Simba is growing up and meets Timon and Pumbaa.
Yeah.
So that's like my kind of, I seem to remember that part a lot more.
Timon and Pumbaa.
Timon and Pumbaa and Simba being a grown up lion.
Yeah.
And everything like that. So I would say, weirdly enough, I know you had a gripe about, like, obviously Mufasa and Simba.
Yeah.
Mine were more Rafiki, and then Timon and Pumbaa.
Yeah, we get to now, don't we? Because they come along to save him when he's in the desert with the vultures.
Vultures, yeah. First of all, my problem with Pumbaa. I know Pumbaa is a warthog, and warthogs don't look that appealing in the real life. But Pumbaa is so cute and round and plump, and this warthog is the ugliest warthog. I don't really know if I've ever seen a warthog, but it's just, I'm like, where's Pumbaa? What have you done with him? That's not Pumbaa. You could have kind of, I know we're trying to go realistic and everything, but that just spoilt it a little bit for me.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
He was like, well, you're meant to be brown, and the meerkat, I don't know why Timon, like, these arms were getting on my nerves a little bit. I know that meerkats do that with their arms, like, they put them up to the chest, but it's like, just seemed a bit too, like, staged, like, like them always being up there, like, because kind of more trying to make it too realistic.
Right.
It's like, I'm sure in the animation he wasn't always up here.
Well, no.
He had more down, like, arms.
Well, yeah, because, and he had, proper fingers and everything and stuff, but that's because it's a cartoon, and it's, again, you can do more expressiveness with that than you can a realistic animal, so...
I guess you're right, but I just think there was just a certain something about them, and I felt the characters... There was one voice that was bugging me for a while of Timon. I was like, I know that voice, and I don't know why I know that voice. And it wasn't until later that you...
But it's that... I forget the character's name now. It's really bad. But it's from...
Parks and
Recreations, yeah. Is that the really intense...
I'm sure he's gay. Like, he's got a beef about literally anything. Like, intense. God, it's like, Jesus, if you just put something in the wrong place, you'll know about it. I could not possibly put up with him. But he works alongside...
April.
Yeah, in Parks and Recs, yeah. So, but I don't understand how I knew that voice so much. It was like...
It was just that distinguishable.
It must have been.
But, so I think it's funny that would be two people who are gay who voiced Timon.
Oh, would you really?
Yeah, just throwing that in there. I don't know. So, obviously we've got Hakuna Matata song, which again is pretty weak.
Hakuna Matata.
They did do a flashback to the, I call it a flashback, when I was a young warthog.
Oh, the little warthog was really cute.
Yeah, so that was the only time it was cute.
It was really cute then. And he was brown then, and it was like, well, why have you come like a grey, mucky colour?
But even that bit was a bit like, because again it was a bit more funnier when, in the animation, when you like see the monkey.
You actually felt sorry for him, I think, when he was in this one. I did. It's like, he's only a little baby and all these people are leaving him, and he's like...
Yeah, because he farts.
He only farts. It's a human bodily function. Leave him be. Everyone else farts.
Oh, and this one, it even says the word. In the other one, Timon like stops him from saying that word.
Fart.
Yeah. But it's like, this one's like, are you not going to stop me? Yeah, so that's another thing. And then, while they're doing this song, all these other animals appearing out of the jungle.
Yeah, you
as
had
well.
a proper gripe with this, didn't you? Like, I don't even think they live in the jungle. And it's like, what is this animal? And there was one thing which I feel like looked like a chipmunk, but wasn't a chipmunk, and was a bigger version. But I swear I've seen that animal when we went to Australia in a zoo, and I can't remember for the life of me what it was. It looked like a bigger version of a chipmunk. Remember that little rounded mouse thing that was big?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I wouldn't say it was very much like a chipmunk, but it was sort of like ape-like lemur type thing. I don't know.
Is there one in Madagascar?
There's
the lemur, and then there's that little other thing. It's like that.
Yeah, like that. I don't know what animal that is. But...
I don't know what animal that is. If you do know what animal that is, can you let us know, please?
Yeah, so all these other animals, like, yeah, what are you doing here? I guess it is a big jungle and you didn't really see them in the other one, so I'm guessing you assume other wildlife lives there, but... Yeah.
But you didn't need these extra characters. Like, there was that one with the antelope part.
Yeah, another antelope thing.
Where, like, Simba was going after these butterflies and his antelope was, like, pretending to be scared. And I think it was trying to be humorous a little bit, but... Yeah, it was like an additional scene that didn't needed to be added.
Yeah, to show the fact that because Simba's all grown up now in this sequence, that he's now a fully grown lion and you think he's chasing, the prey, that what the antelope is, but in fact he was just messing around with butterflies because he's now become softy from eating grubs.
Does make you wonder when he goes back to the Pride Land if he'll just carry on being a veggie.
Yeah, don't know.
That's not really stated, is it?
No. And through all this, we get another. This is some extra bit of. We said about before about filling the blanks. Whereas in the other, I never even thought of this being a part of the story. But when go back to what's happening at Pride Rock, like meanwhile, it's already getting pretty desolate up there, and then Nala decides to, right, there's no food around here, I'm going to go out, source it from somewhere else.
Look for help, yeah.
Leads to the thing. So that was a whole bit that was like, oh, we really need this. Kind of like, we know that...
Well, we know why that's the reason, isn't it? Because Disney have paid big bucks for Beyonce to be Nala.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, they're going to have to give her a bigger part and airtime because, like, well, we've paid for her, we're going to have to bloody use her because...
Never hear the end.
Well, A, they're never going to hear the end of it, and B, God knows how much they've paid her to do it, so they're going to get every penny worth that they possibly can.
Yeah, sure.
So they've got like this big celebrity, and it's like, well, to be honest, I feel like she tries to outshine Simba a little bit. In this, they don't seem like a partnership. It seems like Nala is like actually more the queen than Simba is the king, if that...
Yeah.
It did get to a point where I was getting a little bit annoyed with how much Nala was taking over. Yeah,
I didn't feel like she had such a strong part in the thing, but I don't know if that's anything to do with current climate of things, but women need to have a stronger role.
No, I didn't feel like it was that. I felt like it was just because Beyonce was Nala, and it was like it should have been actually the Lion Queen instead of the Lion King. It got to me at that point where it was like, right, okay, this is ridiculous.
Another point I've written down about the whole convoluted way of getting Simba's hair essence. to Rafiki's possession.
I loved your face on this. It was so funny. You were so annoyed.
Yeah. This what reminds me of, I don't know if you remember ages ago, there's, or other people might remember if they've seen another Disney property called Dinosaur. Do you remember the thing at the beginning of the film where there's like, one of the dinosaur eggs, and it goes to this long journey to get, it gets carried off to sea into another island where all the little lemur monkey things are. Do you remember that? Yeah. So the whole thing with that, like the dinosaur picks it up, drops it, gets washed down river, and then someone else comes and scoops it up and whatever. So that felt like that was fine with, because that's sort of establishing a thing. That's a big thing with a character. I think it's not even hatched yet, and a living thing, not like a piece of hair. So I've got it down as the wind blows it first initially, obviously. Then it ends up in the river, which then ends up in a bird's nest because a bird scoops it out. The other bird knocks it out of the nest, which goes onto some leaves, which a giraffe eats.
Yeah, and then I was like, well, we know what's going to happen now.
With the fade to black, for some reason.
You don't want to see the giraffe having a poo, do you?
That's well done. Been funny. Strange.
Well, to be honest, it's true. That's what would happen. So if they wanted to go more realistic, why didn't they add that in?
Yeah,
Added everything else that's realistically crap. So might as well just actually added a giraffe having a crap in it.
So then we see dumb people with a bowl of shit. Just pushing it along with hair in it.
And then miraculously it crumbles.
Yeah. And then it blows into the wind again.
And a little ant gets it.
On the leaf, and which ends up miraculously at Rafiki's thing. So I feel like I went on a longer journey than what went on in the...
So long, and it was ridiculous. And Rafiki's reaction really, really disappointed me. Because I'm sure this is where he's like banging his stick around at this point, and he's like, woo!
Yeah, exactly, yeah. None of that.
None of that. It's just like, oh, Simba.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's like, Rafiki, where is your oomph?
Yeah.
You can see that this really gripes me, can't you?
Yeah. And then we cut back to them doing the Wimba Timon and Pumbaa. Which again, and get you a little motley crew, the other animals
joining
in for some reason. It's like, yeah, whatever. But a kind of good thing about happens here where Nala thankfully comes in and abruptly cuts it off, which is
trying to eat poor Pumbaa.
Poor Pumbaa, who you don't like.
Don't really like. I do love Pumbaa though in the original.
Yeah.
So she goes after Pumbaa. Obviously Simba saves Pumbaa. That's like the original. But they're reunited with Nala and Simba. How did you feel about?
I'd feel like, because obviously, like, it's trying to hark back to the fact of when, when they were cubs, she did the old pin you down kind of thing. Again, that didn't really have much of an impact in that initial part when they were cubs anyway. So on this part, from what happens in the sequence, it's like, how could you tell? There wasn't really like a strong establishing thing of that was what was triggering his memory for it. It could be any lioness, to be honest.
How did he know it was actually Nala? But then I guess that's the same as lions might think every human look the same,
Yeah.
But I did think it was a bit weak though, even like when they realised it was quite a lovely kind of moment, I thought, when they first kind of met one another, and then you've got the can you feel
love tonight?
Yeah.
It wasn't even nighttime.
No.
It wasn't even dusk. It looked like it was like...
No, it wasn't actually. I didn't even clock that.
Could you feel the love this...
In the air tonight.
early afternoon.
Oh, I didn't even notice. But it wasn't even that magical. Maybe it's because it wasn't nighttime. I don't know.
No, it wasn't. Again, something else they seem to have a lack thereof. Obviously, this is the point when I think their argument was even that heated to have even warranted like the point when Simba like walks off and comes across Rafiki. At this point, I can't even recall what happened there for that to transition into that part, but wasn't obviously that impactful because I can't really
No,
remember.
I don't think it was. It was, and I remember Simba in the original kind of storming off.
Yeah. And then this one, Rafiki would normally go, banana,
Banana.
thing, but that doesn't happen in this.
I think that's what was really good with the original, because you had these really sad kind of hard moments, but then they did do
up with the light-heartedness.
Yeah, and I think that's what was really manageable for kids, because it kind of learned quite a few emotions within one film, but in the end it was all alright, but you had gone through this roller coaster, whereas I don't feel you had that much connection to go through that roller coaster with this one.
So then what happens here, sort of similar to the other one, where it's kind of like you've got to show Simba his father, so he has to go through all the vines and stuff in the dark forest, and then it's where he shows him in the water, through the reflection, and then they've got the clouds, which doesn't even look like Mufasa.
There's like one last bit where it lightens.
Yeah, lightning.
That you can kind of see the resemblance of Mufasa. The rest of it, but I'm pretty sure in the Disney one, obviously Mufasa's face was like fully a cloud. And
again,
you could see it.
I'm guessing they're probably trying to make that a realism there, because you wouldn't really see. It'd be a bit weird if you saw a cloud talking to you in real life, but.
No, but I think you can see things in clouds a lot clearer.
Oh yeah.
So you could see
even if it's just a formation of a face.
Of a lion's face. It didn't have to be Mufasa's.
Yeah, doing like a lip syncing. Yeah. Anyways, so there was no hitting with a stick. It's in the past or anything, learning from that or anything like that. So you were annoyed by that.
I just don't think the stick. I don't realise how much the stick meant to me. I just feel like I need to write to Disney and say what was the reasoning to not have Rafiki with a stick. It's like having an ice cream without a cone. It just doesn't make sense, and he lost his personality to me.
I agree.
Without his stick, that was part of him.
It really was. So, and we have the new additional song, I guess, Beyonce.
Because we had to put her in, didn't we, and give her a song as well.
As Simba travels home, again, that was a bit more drawn out, just so she could tag along, like hot on his trails kind of thing.
It just frustrates me. It really does. It just got too much. It was like, okay, Beyonce, you queen bee and all, but do you have to take over the Lion King as well? She wants it all, doesn't she? She even had to ruin that Ed Sheeran song. I'm sorry. I think this is where it stems from. It's like, you've ruined the Ed Sheeran Perfect song. You could have just left it be. And now you've ruined the Lion King. Are you proud of yourself? I just think it's greed. I feel like that's what it is. It's like she's got so much money in the world. And they're paid her billions and trillions. God knows how much ridiculous money.
Oh, not billions.
To have her on the set of Lion King.
Well, not on the set. It's just in the studio doing the voice.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
For what actually did she add to it?
I know.
Like, the amount that she paid, was she worth it?
I don't know. Just seems... This is the whole thing with having the star power. That's what sells these films sometimes, doesn't it?
But it's poor, isn't it? That's what you need to sell this film. Like, it didn't need that beforehand. Yeah, okay, you had Elton John singing, but it wasn't like he then had a part as well. And,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah. Yeah, he wasn't like, oh, come on.
Yeah, I need to be Pumbaa or something like that, It wasn't like that, were it? It was a case of he sung the song and
That'd been interesting.
That was it, that was it,
Yeah, I know, yeah. So then they obviously get to Pride Rock and the Pride Lands, and it's all, it's all bad and everything.
Yeah, and everything's in disarray. And
I think you're probably annoyed by this part as well, weren't you, with the whole throwaway joke, instead of, from the original where it was Timon and Pumbaa doing to distract the hyenas was like, what do you want me to do? Dress and drag and do the hula?
Yeah.
Stuff. But in this one it's for some reason Beauty and the Beast.
Oh yeah.
Joke. Proudly present our dinner. Be our guest, and then it's like...
I love. Beauty and the Beast is like my childhood favourite.
Yeah.
And I even think actually, I were on about it the other day, like the remake of that, that didn't upset me. Don't know if you've actually seen the remake of it.
I think I saw part of it with you, but I was not that impressed.
But then, And it didn't actually disappoint me as much as I thought it would have done, but I do love Belle, but then obviously there was Hermione Granger.
Playing Belle.
Belle, yeah, so, and obviously I love Harry Potter as well, so to me it was a win-win for the characters, and she is literally spot on for that character.
Right.
Anyways, returning back to The Lion King and the fact that they use the BR guest, I know they do this stuff in Disney. Like, there is, like, I think we watched another movie the other day, and they were having, like, they had goofy hats or something like that.
Yeah, it's sort of their properties. I guess they can do what they want, but it seems a bit of a weird thing to have in that when it wouldn't. I don't know.
I think it's fine to have like the merchandise and stuff of other characters and things like that. To they've got that, so they can do that. But I feel like.
But I think I know what it was. I think you were referring to was like the Aladdin, the original Aladdin.
Yes.
Yes, but you can get away with that because Genie was, obviously referencing like a lot of pop culture stuff, so that was okay. But for this to.
And I think it happens in Monster Inc. I think you have somebody or something, but it might be like a toy.
That, Pixar do that. I know, but anyway.
But I think with this, it was like because it already had a song, and it was quite comical.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't just do that. They could have just done that, and I think that still would have landed. Doing an interpretation of the, I don't know what they even have to put a skirt on. You could just do I don't know, just something a bit more
Pumberish.
Yeah, not just.
I think they didn't have their humour there, like that connection of Timon and Pumbaa. The humour wasn't really there. I don't feel like the two voice actors gelled, and the humour,
I don't know.
The lines weren't delivered.
No, it just didn't work. And Seth Rogen's normally meant for comedy roles, but he was not really on point with this one.
It was a bit of a disappointment. It didn't seem comical, but then I guess the relationship between the two of them didn't. It's like Timon and Pumbaa are like best friends, and you didn't really.
You didn't get that as such from this.
No.
Written down, obviously, when the fight starts, everything with the whole, which again, that was a bit more intense this time. I felt in a way, but I've written down. Rafiki's stick appears. What the fuck? Because he just pulls it out like he's pulled from a chest. It's almost like a sword. Like, hello, old friend.
Well, that's what it feels like. It feels like something off Skyrim where you go into like your little treasure chest and you get your sword out, and it's like, well, why have you been hiding that for this long? It's not like it's a jewel, and it's like
not an illegal thing. You can't be in possession of such an item. I
think what my problem was, it was like either be with the stick or be without.
That's
the
what
stick.
I'm saying when we started this.
It's one or the other.
Yeah, either have it or don't.
Don't just bring it out and then hit a couple of hyenas and then it's not there anymore.
Even that wasn't that thing. It's kind of like, and that was it. And the other one, obviously, it was a bit more like more kung fu-y.
Yeah, it was.
Thing.
Yeah,
again, you don't see it again. So what was the point? Could have just picked up anything from an old branch that had set on fire and could have done the exact same thing. Would have made any more difference.
It should have just not had the stick.
Yeah. And then, again, back to having Beyonce doing a little highlighted thing, having to fight the female hyena sequence added in, just to give her more screen time and more voice time.
I felt like that was overshadowed a little bit compared to like the bit with Scar and Simba, I felt.
Yeah, it really did. Again, it's about him, not her.
Yeah, and it does feel like it is a case of it. She had longer airtime, I feel, on some of the things that weren't really necessary. Yeah. I understand Disney want to get as much money worth out of it as possible and plug your star, but maybe you should have found somebody worthy of being a star for Simba. He's your main character at the end of the day.
Well, he is voiced by Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, so this is America.
Why would you do that? Disney movie where if you Google him in YouTube and this is America and your child pops up and he sees him shooting everybody.
Well, I don't think they'd really care who was voicing it, really. Because, like, for me, I'm sure you're the same, you wouldn't know, like, when you're seeing these cartoons, when you didn't care who was doing the voice of whoever. You just like, oh, that sounds funny, oh, I like his... I know it's easy to do that these days, but you can just...
But if you did Google. Know, like, let's say you had an older sibling who was like, oh, I know his music, and then you're like, oh, well, let me listen to it.
Yeah.
And it's a case of, it could get a bit tricky. I don't think really Disney should be repairing themselves.
Yeah, I
with
get
somebody like that, really.
But you know, if they fit the part, I guess it's... Well, to be fair, do you know who voiced the adult Simba in the original one?
No, of course I don't. Who was it? Do I actually know him?
You do know him. Gonna laugh.
Who's he from? What's he from?
Inspector Gadget.
No, he's not.
Yes, it is. It is. It is.
No.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I don't believe you. You're having me on.
No,
aren't
I'm
you?
not. I'm not having you on.
He's everywhere lately, isn't he?
What do you mean lately?
Everything you make me watch, he's in. Cropping up
Godzilla.
like. Yeah. Trying to forget that.
Yeah. But no, yeah, now we're at the end, and that pretty much kind of sort of is the same. It's just not much to talk about there, really. Kind of just like, oh, this guy's dead. You go in Pride Rock and Raw, and then everything's all fine. Happy.
Love how it miraculously comes green. You know, he stands up there and then the
doesn't
grass is sown in, everything's perfect.
Yeah,
You've got water.
But that's happened in the other one as well.
Yeah.
But that's kind of
going realistic. You should see the struggles of the fact that it takes a bit longer.
You need another 20 minutes of not growing the crops.
Yes, yeah.
Getting the other animals back, yeah.
Yeah. And I want to know if he becomes still a vegetarian or if he starts eating meat.
These are the questions, people.
Yep. True questions.
Did Rafiki ever use his stick again?
Probably not. He probably lost it. Because I don't remember seeing him.
What happened to
the stick and what happened to him, really.
He was there at the end.
Yeah,
he
but
held
no
up
stick.
The cup.
No stick.
No stick. Anyway, so that's the film.
Yeah. You were tutting all the way through it, you were. You were just like... I'm thinking, oh God, what is he writing? He's proper slagging it off here.
Just a bit of a shit show, really. It's all said and done. It's just, I don't know, just...
It is definitely one of those of, why have they done it? Don't even bother, just watch the original. It's
so much better. I know I said that about Love with Aladdin, but if you want to see Aladdin, the new one, that's fine. But I really don't recommend watching this one.
So,
over the other one. Just by far, everything about the original one is just infinitely better.
So, you kind of gave Aladdin a bit of a hard time. Now, on reflection, you're saying that Aladdin, the remake, is actually better than The Lion King.
If you had to ask me, well, you are asking me, I guess, do I want to watch the Aladdin remake or the Lion King remake? I'll have to settle for the Aladdin one, if I have to. This too much irritates me about this, more for the fact that it has a place in my heart, and it's just...
Well, I even think with the Aladdin, there was added scenes, but, they were valuable. I know they tried to do it with Beyonce, with the singing her own song and girl power and woohoo, but I think it felt more from, when Jasmine sang her own song. I felt that. I just got annoyed when Beyonce was trying to do her own song, because it was oh, well, you're going to release that, aren't you, and then get mega bucks, I think. Whereas I didn't mind when it was somebody who I didn't actually know, because they did have a lot of people in Aladdin, apart
who
from...
had new blood, really.
Yeah, Will Smith was your only big name.
Yeah.
And he wasn't that annoying.
Well, you might think that, but... Yeah, we're not talking about that now. We're talking about this. Well, we've talked quite long enough, so...
So, scores?
Price. I actually haven't even... Talking about all this, so I don't even actually know what...
Well, what would you score the original?
I would probably put that at 10. Out of 10.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think.
I feel like this is going to be a really bad score.
I'm just trying to think, on reflection, what if there's any real positives?
Well, there is. Yeah, the animals did look realistic, and the colours were... It wasn't as vibrant, but the detail, you have to kind of credit the fact that...
I have to credit them on that, so I can't give it a really low. Because if it's
Because it wasn't shockingly rubbish animation.
No,
the animation was...
I can't slag them off for that. But on the same other side of the coin, it's well, yeah, you can do that, but what is the point? Why do we need to... all that you're doing is showing, look what we can do with technology now, the animation. But put it into something that's original. Make it it doesn't have to be the Lion King. It could be any other animal thing, or like an original story. Maybe do something like that, Disney.
Yeah.
Something that you didn't have to think, right, well, people already know the story thing. Let's almost do exact carbon copy thing of that, and just that'll get us money again. It's like,
yeah, no, I agree with you. That's the bit that's frustrating when you add bits to it that didn't need to be added, and it's one of those where everything else was near enough the same.
I mean, it's not even like you could say, look, we're doing this because the animation of the original was bad. It isn't, because you can still get high Blu-ray qualities, and that's not like, oh, looks a bit ropey. No. In fact, anything, this is going to look more ropey in the future when we have, like, maybe even 10 years down the line when we've got super duper
duper things are gonna
high tech, technology to do effects and stuff, and look super realistic. But
so scores are in. Drum roll, please.
I'm going to give it a 3. I'm sorry. I think I gave Aladdin 4, but...
Poor Lion King.
I can't give it...
Mufasa will be turning in his grave.
He's got a grave. He's still... CGI gorge. But... It's... Because, 2 or 1 is, almost like that's unwatchable. But...
Yeah.
It's because it's the visuals. That's the main thing that's holding it up there. That's keeping it afloat. But everything else is just I can't take.
No, I do think that's a bit harsh. I do. I think you've obviously got a strong connection, and I do think genuinely probably people haven't seen the original. This would be a good piece to watch, and they would enjoy it if they didn't know anything otherwise. So
again, it's another thing of if that doesn't exist, then that's fair enough. Maybe that would be okay, but because I know and it's still readily available. It's on Disney Plus, just like this is. It's not like, oh well, I can't access the original. It's in some archives deep.
Very down, deep, yeah. Then this would be a good replacement for it.
But I don't think it's a good replacement at all. But
I do think in its own, if you kind of don't, you're not comparing to the original, but it's hard not to.
It's very hard not to with this one, because it's so close to...
Detail of it is quite realistic. It does have its good parts. There is bits which do gripe you, like with Rafiki, but if I didn't know Rafiki didn't have a stick originally, that wouldn't bother me, would it? Because I wouldn't known that. So
no,
I wouldn't have had a beef with it, No.
But you just said Pumbaa as well, that he was too real. Because the thing is not cute or anything. Yeah,
and it's but actually, if you're kind of just trying to have it as it is on its own, a standalone movie, not attached, it's not unbearable.
What's your score then?
I'd probably give it maybe a 5 or a 6.
Okay.
I wouldn't be so harsh to say it's unwatchable and it's not good, because it is, but it's just there's no need for it because you've got something already really knockout.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say to somebody, don't watch it. I'd just say, don't go in with the intentions that it's going to be as amazing as the original. Because it's not. It's just, but then I think that's the same with anything. So, you can get away with, having Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2. And they're really good, solid films. Go to Home Alone 3 and it's rubbish.
Because you're just milking it then.
Yeah. And it's so
That's not the same as a sequel. That's a remake, sorry. That's just trying to milk as much as you can and then fairly miserable. But this is a remake of something that was, like I say, in my eyes, and I'm sure a lot of people's eyes, practically flawless as a Disney animation property. But it just... I have no desire to watch this again.
No, I don't think I'd... If you...
Everything... Yeah, go to the Lion King original all the time if I want to watch the Lion King.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I probably would be the same with Aladdin. Because they're classics and they're never going to age. They're never going to. It's just they are perfect.
And it's not like there's any things like with some films these days where it's the technology is dated, so that's kind of dates the film. This is things that it all takes place in Africa, in the Pride Lands and stuff, where there's no technology or thing to be that's thing. It's just how that is, and that's how realistically that's how it should always will be. So there's nothing going to change there. So it's always going to be timeless in that regard.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I do.
Oh.
But I do think it's not too bad of a film, but any original, you're just going to go with the original, aren't you? Simple, isn't it?
I certainly am, for this one in any case. But
I think it's normally the case with anything, really. Any other remastered ones, you're always going to want... Like, I haven't seen The Jungle Book, so you think that's quite good, but...
It's a good adaptation, I think. I know but that is a live action, because at least it's got one human in it, even if it's just the one human. And it's adapted in a way that's a bit different, but maybe we can look at that at some point and see what you think, and maybe I'm being a bit biased in that, but maybe
you don't have an attachment to Jungle Book as much as you do The Lion King.
Well, I did enjoy the original things. I think everything with animals in the Disney films. Yeah, I think that's more like tailored to the boys, isn't it? Whereas I were more like the Disney princesses. Yeah. But right, okay, I think we've talked long enough, so we'll wrap it up for now. So thank you very much for listening, and I thought I was going to swear a lot more through this, but...
You were quite tame, actually.
Yeah.
You weren't too bad, so it was a bit kids somewhat friendly, but
is
there an F-bomb?
Fuck. There's been some swears, but not as het up as I thought it was going to be, to be fair, in looking back over this, but it just does annoy me. But anyway. Thank
you for listening mainly to Paul's thoughts and his gripes on this one. I seem to be not so het up.
Yeah, you did have a few bits.
I did have my beefs, yeah, I did, a little bit. So not as much as Paul. But I'm hoping you like what he's had to say and our comments, and you think that actually some of them might be valid. Maybe if you agree, let me know. Or if you don't agree with him, let me know as well. Go on, just thoughts, but you do you, and watch it if you want, but for me it's never want to see it again. So even if it's just to watch it just to see that you agree with what we say or disagree, but it'll be interesting to know other people's comments. Yeah. And not be so biased. So thank you very much for listening. As always, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, wherever else you might get your podcasts from. And of course, you can also find us on Instagram and Twitter under the handle SP Film Viewers, and also Facebook as well. Also, just a little fun fact. This will be our 20th episode. Yes, it has been. Doesn't feel like we've been doing it that long, does it? No, it doesn't, no. But I do feel like we're getting more into the swing of things, and we're getting more in depth into the nitty-gritty storylines. So I'm hoping that it continues. Yeah. Even if it's not value add to anyone else, I enjoy doing them, so that's all that matters. Yeah. So thank you so much for listening, and take care and keep safe. Yeah, and we'll speak to you next time. See you later. Yeah, take care for now. Bye. Bye.